Bob, thanks so much for joining us. It is such a privilege and honor to have you here and for you to wake up at a ridiculous hour in the morning to be here fresh and sparkly to share your knowledge, do a talk with us and share some inspiration and talk about your new book. Bob does have a new book that's being launched, The Extraordinary Badass Agile Coaching. I cannot wait to read it. I have no doubt it's going to be excellent. Bob is a prolific agilist in the community, and I'm sure most of you in the industry will know Bob and have potentially read some of his books and some of his work. I have colleagues that have attended his training, and the feedback has just been absolutely superb. So it really is an honor to have you here. And as part of your book launch of this new book, we thought it'd be a great opportunity to hear your views and share some of your knowledge, and particularly on the talk you're speaking about today. So I'm not an Agile coach, but I work in the Agile industry and I love it. And I love the idea that you're saying that anybody can be an Agile coach. You don't have to be an Agile coach to be an Agile coach. So really excited and looking forward to hearing about it. I am going to hand over the reins to you, Bob. If I can ask if everyone else, and we have popped you on mute, if you remain on mute, and I know Bob will allow some questions at the end and some time to engage at the end of the talk. And don't forget, we will put the link to the discount code. So over to you.
Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. Let's get going. We have a lot to cover in a little time, so I'm going to dive in. I might talk a little fast, so just maybe the recording, you can slow it down when you get to recording if I talk too fast. So, and I think it's too much coffee. I think I've had a little bit too much coffee, unfortunately, but it's all good. So welcome to this session. I don't want to really talk that much about the book. The book is out there. It's something I really felt that the community needed and all of that. And it's a labor of love, and it's out there. I get a lot of positive and negative comments about the title. So if you don't like the word badass, please don't be. So just ignore it. Call it well-rounded. So if you don't like that term, just replace it with well-rounded, and don't be offended. No offense intended. Let me get my thing going. I'm not going to talk about myself. You should have the materials. Please download the materials because you might find a few slides later on useful, and there's some links in there that you will find useful. So in chat is a link to the PDF. I'm going to talk introduction, and I want to talk about something that I discovered a few years ago called the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel. It's a model or a framework that's very useful for Agile coaching. Even though it's Agile coaching, don't get triggered by Agile, get triggered by coaching. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. We're going to talk about coaching mindset. We're going to talk a little bit about what a coaching conversation looks like and give you some hints for that. And then if we had more time, I would actually ask you to go into breakout rooms and do some practice, but we're going to simulate some practice at your desks. And I have a funny story to tell. So it's a role play. The practice sessions are a role play, and I've been giving this talk quite a bit lately. And whenever I use the term role play, and then I open up the breakout rooms at the end, about 50% of the people just bail. They just run for the exits. I have discovered that role playing is not one of the favorite things of human beings on the planet Earth. So just everyone calm down. We're not going to do it. We'll just practice in the safe confines of your desk or wherever you're at. When I say coach, one of the mistakes I made the minute I hit code freeze or release on my book, I started thinking about things that I maybe should have said or amplified more. And it happens with software or any project, and it happened with me with the book. I was like, darn it, I wish I would have talked about that, or darn it, I wish I would have talked about that more. And one of the things that I'm sort of reflecting on is I wanted the book to have a broad audience. Like I want you to tease apart the title or the term Agile or the term Agile Coach from having coaching skills and competencies. Everyone with me? I want you to pull it apart and don't get triggered by org charts or titles or roles. But really, I want you to think about coaching competencies. And if you look at it that way, I think every role on the planet Earth, whether I'm a manager or in Agile, if I'm a Scrum Master or a product owner, a leader, a team member, I think you can improve your effectiveness if you have coaching skills. You don't have to be a coach, but I think adding those competencies to your toolbox over time make you much more effective in your journey. And that's the point. And I don't know if I made that strongly enough. So the book is for that, but this talk is for that. I want to inspire you to think about, you are a coach, or I want you to think about engaging in coaching conversations. So this is a little bit about the book, just the contributors. It was published at the end of January. I was blessed to have some people contribute chapters. And one of the things is I asked my daughter, I leveraged my fatherly influence, and I asked my daughter to write a chapter, and I think she was frightened at the beginning, but she did a wonderful job talking about diversity and inclusion. So there's a chapter that talks about how diversity and inclusion factor into coaching, and she's a social worker, so I asked her to do that. And there's some other, Mark Summers is a coach in the UK and Germany, and he was a wonderful contributor. So there's some different voices in the book that I'm proud of. I want to talk about Agile Coaching. Let me go back. Agile Coaching, there's a company in Europe called Dandy People, and they put together these little one-page overviews of things. Again, don't trigger on the Agile, trigger on the coaching. And so for Agile Coaching, historically, there was this thing called the Agile Coaching Competency Framework. And you can see it here. You don't have to read it. I'll explain. You can get the slides. You can download them if you want and blow them up. But I'm going to walk you through their stances in coaching. Very often, professional coaching or coaching, Agile coaching, they talk about your coaching stance, how you show up with a client. And I'll use the term client to represent whoever's being coached. So you can be coaching a person as a client. You can be coaching a team as a client. You can be coaching a group of leaders as a client, a Scrum team as a client. So all of them to me is just generally, I refer to, the coach, and you're coaching the client. So when you're coaching a client, it's like, what are you doing? And it's not just coaching, there are aspects to it. So there's 4 primary stances historically in Agile coaching. One is teaching. I hope that resonates with everyone. You teach the client. They may not know something. So as a coach, you adopt the stance of teacher. Not in a formal way, hopefully, not in a too formal way, but you're teaching them. Mentoring is another wonderful, and it's different from teaching. It's showing. Apprenticeship, there's this notion of pairing and apprenticeship, and taking someone under your wing. To me, that could be mentoring stance. There's facilitating stance, facilitating group meetings, making sure that all voices are heard. Does that resonate with everyone? So facilitating skills, facilitation skills. And then there's professional coaching. Was a stance. And professional coaching might be typified. I think of it as powerful questions, asking the right questions for the client to discover their own solutions. So it's a powerful stance of passive Q&A, so helping the client discover their answers. And as a coach, I think you dance. I love the metaphor of dancing across the stances. So I think more effective coaches learn how to move from, I might enter a coaching conversation in coaching stance, ask a few questions, and then I might say, oh, they don't know something. Then I might dance over to teaching stance. Might jump to a whiteboard, virtual or real, and teach them something. Does that make sense? That's a common framework. Now, for Agile coaches, there's some Agile-centric stuff. There's Agile and Lean practitioner skills as part of your coaching, and then there's some domain mastery, technical mastery, transformation mastery, change, and business mastery, business domain mastery. But the real core of this model is these dancing across these 4 stances. And then there's another model over here that has 9 stances, which is a little bit more nuanced. For example, if you want to think about them, visionary would be the most light touch or the less prescriptive stance. And one of the most prescriptive stance is hands-on expert, telling someone what to do. Do it this way because I know. And there's a bunch of stances in between, and you can see facilitator and teacher. So I want you to sort of grok those, or just, I'm leaving that with you. That's the history of coaching, is these models and stances. And we'll have time for Q&A at the end. Now, a more modern view, I think of it as a replacement view, to what I call that X-Wing model, that Agile Coaching competency framework, is something called the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel. And it's inclusive of those stances, but it's added some things. And it's added the notions of competencies so that you can, it provides helpful guidance for you to grow yourself as a coach. I'm going to just, and there's a link there. There's a website for it. The Scrum Alliance, if you're familiar, or if you've ever heard of the Scrum Alliance, which is an Agile organization that grants certifications, their coaching certifications are normalizing to the growth wheel now. And they have been over the last year or so. There's a little bit of a history about it. It's no one's trying to monetize it, which warms my heart. So we're not trying to monetize the wheel. It was generated in the community by actual coaches as a community improvement effort. The evolution started at a coaching retreat, a community coaching retreat in Europe around 2016. Mark Summers was involved in that. So it's emerged from the community, which I think is a healthy way for it to grow. I want to just walk around the wheel to get you to be thinking about the aspects of coaching, if that makes sense to everyone, right? Just aspects, a light-handed view of it. Now, one of the cool things about the wheel, to me, the metaphor, is it starts, one of the things the X-Wing didn't do, it's not negative, it talked about it, but it implied it, but the coaching growth wheel really starts with you. It assumes the view that, or it adopts the view that coaching is an inside-out job. Does that make sense to everyone? I hope that, meaning, I think leader, have you ever heard the term, in order to be a good leader, you should be a good follower first. Everyone with me? I think in order to be a good coach, you should be coachable first, right? So don't actively coach others. The first question is, who am I inside? And why am I coaching? Am I coaching for my ego? Am I coaching for money? Or am I coaching because I'm trying to serve others? So it's that inside out job. So self-mastery in the inside of the wheel is the emphasis. It's the hub. It's intentionally the hub of the wheel. And in there is things like ethics, coaching ethics. We don't really have a solid handle on coaching ethics in the Agile coaching community. The Agile Alliance is developing that, but we've been lagging in that. Self-awareness. Are you aware of your strengths and your weaknesses? Right? Are you aware of that? So emotional intelligence. Are you growing in your emotional intelligence? Are you taking care of self first? One of the worst things you can do as a coach is tell someone something when you're not adopting it yourself. Like WIP limit. As many Agile coaches, there's a work in progress limit. They coach their clients and they say, oh, you have too many things in flight. You have too many projects. You need to stop that. You have too many meetings. You're double and triple booked. Does that resonate with everyone? And they're telling their clients to reduce that. But then when you look at the coach, guess what? They're double and triple booked. They're running around. They don't have time for sleep. They're not learning. The last time they read a book was 18 years ago. They're not practicing what they preach. That's really the hub, is before we coach others, why don't we coach ourselves? Why don't we look at how we're showing up as a role model? So mindfulness, are we service oriented? Are we coachable? One of the parts of self-mastery is, I think, every coach, Agile coach, whatever you're doing, do you have a mentor and are you mentoring someone? Do you have a coach and are you coaching? And we should be doing both of that. And we're learning. I learn more by coaching others than I do by being coached, right? It goes in both ways. And being coached. So am I continuously improving myself? So self-mastery is the center of the wheel. Walking our talk is an important part of a coach. And you don't have to get there overnight, but you have to be aware of it. It's like, make sure I'm working on myself and I'm not just outwardly focused. The next thing with the wheel is it had, instead of having 4 primary competencies, or think of it as dance moves. I'm not a dancer. I grew up I had one dance as I was growing up, one move, and I still probably am a one move dancer, but I'm not very elegant. But I know people who do ballroom dancing, and there's many dances. So think of the stances as dance moves, the waltz, the foxtrot. Think of them as things that I might change depending on the dynamics of the floor, or the dynamics of the music. So the 4 primary competencies or stances, I'm going to use them interchangeably, is advising, coaching, facilitating, guiding, learning, and then leading. What the wheel did is it took mentoring and teaching and put it into guided learning. Does that make sense to everyone? So it overloaded guided learning with those two. So it's essentially added two competencies that were not in the framework, the previous framework. One is advising, giving the Agile coach permission to advise or consult the client. There's a lot of Agile coaches nowadays that don't provide advice. They think it's bad. They're like, I'm supposed to ask the client all these questions, and they have to discover things on their own, or maybe I can teach them something, but they don't actually provide advice because they've been taught, oh, that's not part of coaching. It's death by 1,000 questions, and it's not, you can't provide advice. And I think you can provide advice if it's in service to the client. Occasionally, not all the time, but occasionally give yourself permission to say, hey, you know what? I've seen this work 1,000 times before. Why don't you try this? Let's run that experiment together. That's providing guidance, that's providing advice, or consulting with the client. Now, you don't want to stay in any of these stances 100%. You don't, I talk in the book about one trick pony, if you've ever heard that phrase, or a coach that only has, you really want to move your coaching skills beyond the one stance. And there's a lot of coaches in the universe that they only have one tool, they only have one stance, and they stay there almost all the time. That's probably not, that's comfortable for the coach, but it's not comfortable for the client. It's not serving the client very well. I mean, it is when the client needs that stance, but what if the client needs you to adopt another stance? So how do we do that? Then the other stance that was added is leading. Think of it as a role model stance. Leading by example. Does that resonate with everyone? The coach as leading by example, the leadership stance. And it couples with self-mastery. It's how I'm showing up. I'm actually discovering that my role model stance is my most powerful coaching stance. Meaning people watch not what I say, but what I do. And they mirror what I do. So for example, if I show up with curiosity, guess what? A team will reflect curiosity back to me. So how I show up in a system. Do I walk my talk? Do I walk with integrity? Or do I say things like, do what I say, not what I do in my coaching? You know, how do I show up really matters, that leading by example. Or being a change agent, showing up with energy. If you notice, this morning, even though it's 6 a.m. and I'm not looking for kudos, I'm trying to show up with energy. Everyone with me? I'm trying to show up with positivity. I'm trying to show up with presence. There's an intentionality to that. I'm trying to show up as a change agent leader. I'm trying, and that can matter in your coaching dialogue. So that's that stance as well. So the wheel increased the stances, and it also extended these other baseline, what I call like mastery stances. You still can have, if you're an Agile coach, you need to work on your Agile lean mastery. Serve it. As a coach, you're serving the business and you're serving your team. So your service orientation, and then becoming a change champion or a change agent or a change artist in transforming is another stance, if you will. But they're in service to the other primary dance moves. Everyone with me so far? Just giving you a sense. The wheel, and I would encourage all of you to go look at it offline. It's a wonderful model for everyone, not just Agile coaches. If there's any leaders in the audience, if you're leading of any sort, manager, leader, team leader, I encourage, look at yourself as a coach and sharpen those skills. It will make you a better leader, a better leader by having coaching skills. So one of the things that the wheel added that the X-Wing model did not have is guidance around how do I become better? And this is another thing that I really love about the wheel. It has 5 levels of mastery so that you can assess yourself in each of the stances. It provides a lightweight guidance. You're not assessing yourself for salary. You're not assessing yourself to compare yourself to other coaches. You're assessing yourself for personal improvement. Does that make sense to everyone? So we're not competing. It's just we're trying to get better. If you're interested in becoming a better coach, then the wheel can give you some wonderful guidance in each stance as to what does good look like and what does the maturity arc look like for each in each of the areas. And it talks about 4 levels: of beginner, advanced beginner, practitioner, guide, and catalyst. One of the things I like to emphasize here is, as a coach, it's okay. You don't have to become a catalyst or a guide in every level. I'll be vulnerable. Facilitation is one of the stances. It's one of my least favorite things. I can facilitate, but I don't like to facilitate. It doesn't give me joy. So I'm not going to grow my facilitation skills. Does that make sense to some people? Right. And it's not that there's anything wrong, right, with facilitation. Like Jerome might be a great facilitator and he loves doing it. He loves doing it. So then it's like, if I have facilitation opportunities, it's like I ring up Jerome and say, Jerome, here, help me with facilitation. And he's going to grow his skills in that area. Some of the things leadership is a passion of mine. So the leadership stamps is where I'm going to develop. So it's not just, it's becoming more well-rounded, but it's okay to starve areas. It's okay to reflect on what am I good at? But also, what do I enjoy doing? What gives me joy? What do my clients need? And then using the wheel as a growth mechanism and evaluating yourself and then growing yourself more well-rounded. This is that 9 stance view, and I'm just sharing it again from earlier from that one slide. I actually use this to plan my coaching. Before I coach anyone, a team, a client, a team, an individual, I usually center on this to game plan my coaching. How am I going to enter the conversation? What does my client need me? What do I think they need me to surface with? And then where might I end, if that makes sense to everyone? It's just a nice model to say, oh, you know what? I'm going to enter in coaching mode and ask a few questions. And then I think my client might need me to do some teaching today. So I think I might do that. And then I'm going to end on asking some questions about how did the teaching land with them. Everyone notice what I just did? It's sort of an arc. How do I enter? What's the primary part of the coaching conversation, and how am I going to land it? How am I going to end it? It's an arc to a coaching conversation. And I use this to sort of plan the beginning, the middle, and the end from a stance point of view. And it's useful for me. Now, don't get stuck in your plans. Everyone with me? Right? What I'm doing in the beginning is I'm sensing, because as a coach, who do we serve? Everyone shout out, don't come off mute, but everyone shout out the client, right? It's not about us. It's about the client. It's about their agenda. So it's how do we serve their agenda? So very often we might have to change our game plan, but it's nice to have a game plan. I want everyone to think about, so Mark Summers, one of the co-authors, and I'm trying to check time, so I'm rushing a little bit. There's a free survey. So if any of you are intrigued by the wheel and you'd like to use a tool to assess your competencies to the wheel, there's a link on this slide to a free tool associated with comparative agility. And you don't have to be an agilist. So I don't care if you're an agilist. I care that you want to sharpen your coaching skills. You can go to that tool and you can do an assessment, and it'll give you a strengths assessment based on the wheel. And it'll give you a wonderful dashboard where you can plan your growth journey as a coach in improving your coaching skills. And so I just offer that out there as a freebie. No sales gimmicks, no nagging emails, no anything. It's just an assessment tool that I'm proud to be a part of. All right, coaching mindset. I want to switch gears to mindset. That's what are the mindsets? So put the wheel behind you and maybe think self-mastery and what is the mindset of the coach? And I want to drop a few pearls or ideas around what does mindset look like? What is the mind that you want to put on whenever you're coaching an individual, whenever you're having a coaching conversation? Prime directives. Everyone repeat after me on mute. Do no harm, right? Do no harm. Another thing that's really a benefit, assume positive intent on the part of the client. Don't assume that they're morons. Don't assume that they're not agile. Don't assume that they don't want to change. Don't assume anything. Assume positive intent. We bring too much baggage, many of us, to our coaches, particularly if we're frustrated. We've been coaching, particularly in the Agile community. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of frustrated Agile coaches in the Agile community. And try to just center on assume positive intent. Hold your clients as capable. Hold your clients can figure things out. They just may need some help. They just may need a little help. And that's where you come in. Have the courage to be patient and help your clients focus on outcomes. It's not, coaching conversations are not a place to complain. Yes, they are, but they're a place to change. So outcomes are important. Try this. Doing something is important. And the action is for the client. Self-mastery. Before you go out there, maybe some of you get energized in this talk. You want to go out and coach. Yeah, Bob Galen. Yes, I want to coach. Don't stop. Don't do that. Coach you first. Stop. Look in the mirror in the morning. Tomorrow morning, if you're energized, look in the mirror at you and start doing a self-assessment. Like, go back to that assessment I said earlier. Do a self-assessment, for goodness sakes. Figure out where you're at. Do some self-reflection. Are you coachable? I can't tell you how many Agile coaches, when I ask them, do you have a coach? They say no. And when I try to coach them, guess what? They're not coachable. They're not receptive. Their egos are getting in the way. Not anyone here, not anyone listening on this session, but other folks out there in the universe. And and it's not that they're bad, but I think they need to center. I think they need to self-reflect. I think they need to work on self-mastery a bit. Maybe humility. Clearly, I'm a work in progress when it comes to humility, so I don't need any commentary in the chat box around my humility. Okay, I'm just kidding. Another sort of mindset point: meet your clients where they are, not where you want them to be. Everyone with me? Very often, this is something I've learned the hard way, and I'm still learning it. Because I'm so passionate about Agile, I very often meet clients where I want them to be because I'm so excited about Agile. That's great, but I need to meet my client where they are. I need to respect where they are. I need to understand where they are. I need to have empathy for where they are. Seek to understand them. Have you walked in their shoes before you coach someone? I encourage all of you, look at the world through their eyes. Everyone with me? Empathy. Write it on your hand. Empathy is a critical tool for a coach. And empathy is not sympathy. Empathy is being able to look at the world through the eyes of your client before, and then flipping it around. And very often we have to walk in their shoes a little bit. I don't know if any of you have seen, a lot of Agile coaches try to coach leaders in transformations, in Agile transformations, and they get frustrated. And one of the problems is they're not meeting leaders where they are, and they're not applying empathy to leaders. I very often get asked, how do you coach leadership? You don't coach it. You start two things. So meet them where they are, not where you want them to be, with respect, with assumed positive intent, and then walk in their shoes for a bit and understand their perspective. How much pressure are they on? And then flip to coach. We all have baggage and bias. As a coach, you need to drop as much of that as you can. I have an exercise that I do before I coach someone. I visualize that I'm holding up 2 bags. I have very big bags because I have a lot of biases. And I need to pack them in. And what I do is I close my eyes and I start, before I enter the client, virtually or in person, and I start putting relevant biases and baggage in those bags. And then what I do is I literally like drop my bags. And before I enter to the client, it's part of my entry strategy. So I clean my head up so I can be present. Everyone hear what I'm saying? Being present with the client. Now, I'm not perfect. I'm old and experienced, so I have a lot of experience and baggage. So it's hard for me to fill everything up, but I do my best, and it really helps me be present and engage my clients. So try to be aware of it. Self-awareness is important. I've been saying this all along. Everyone, I want you to sort of walk your talk. Everyone repeat it. Just say it. I want to see some lips moving. Walk your talk. I want you to walk your talk. That's your role model. That's your role model. I can coach and not say a word. And in fact, that's my role. It's coaching by not coaching. It's how are you showing up? People are paying attention to you. I don't care what your role is. You be a team member. If you're rolling your eyes, any of you ever roll your eyes in a team meeting, a virtual team meeting, someone's talking? Bob Galen just always talks. He's a dinosaur and he's always talking. And I see that Jason Murphy always rolls his eyes. Guess what Jason Murphy's doing? Jason, don't yell at me. What Jason is doing is he's role modeling some bad behavior. He's setting the tone that everyone, oh my gosh, I can be disrespectful to Bob. People pay attention to that. It changes the system. Everyone with me? Jason, what if he leaned in? What if he showed curiosity? What if he asked clarifying questions? Bob, what do you mean by that? I really think I disagree, but tell me more what you mean. And he really engaged. He's setting the tone. He's coaching by example. He's leading by example. That matters. Walk your talk. Be a truth teller. Be courageous to the degree that you can be. And presence is what I was talking about. Be present. Enough of that. So 2 things, the wheel, think about that assessment, mindset. Now I want to land a final point. Let me do a time check. I'm not doing bad, everyone. Don't get too antsy. So coaching conversations, and I already introduced it. You know that arc? I want to land with an arc. I want you to think of any coaching conversation, could be a conversation. I want you to think about it as an arc. I like a chess metaphor for it. Opening moves, middle game, and end game. Beginning, middle, end. Think about how am I going to enter? Ask permission is a nice. Anna Lee, would this be a good time to have a coaching conversation? Right? And if Anna Lee says no, guess what? Accept the no. Oh, Anna Lee, I'm sorry you said no, but I have it on my schedule. And you know what? I'm triple booked. So you're going to be coached whether you like it or not, because it's on my coaching schedule and I'm supposed to coach you. No, not a good entry strategy. Everyone with me, ask permission and have some dialogue. Establish goals. Establish an agenda. In fact, it's not like I already messed up. Anna Lee, I'm going to coach you, right? Different question. Anna Lee, is there anything you're struggling with that I can help with? Let's explore that. What can I do? What can we do about that? Tell me more about that. Everyone understand what I'm doing there? It's the coaching conversation. And I'm making it about who? Anna Lee. It's not about me. It's about her agenda. Listening, direction finding. That's an opening moves. In the middle game, we're exploring. We might be brainstorming. We talk about options. We could talk about strategies. Very often from opening moves to middle game, we change stances. Everyone with me? I may move from asking questions as professional coaching stance or coaching stance. Then I might move to what, advisory stance or teaching or mentoring. And then I need to close. So quite often there's going to be a change, and I might change stances a few times in the middle game. Everyone think of sense and respond. I'm sensing the agenda and I'm sensing the conversation and I'm sensing Anna Lee, or let me pick, I'm picking on her too much. Andrea, I'm sensing Andrea, I'm sensing her needs, and I'm not dancing because I want to. I'm not changing stances because of me. I'm changing stances because my sense is, oh, I think moving from teaching to mentoring would benefit Andrea to meet the agenda that we set up in the opening moves. Let's try this. So as a coach, I want you to think of dancing with the client. Everyone with me? Dancing with your client. And not like this. So you don't want to switch to 20 stances. That will cause death and destruction. But you do want to be nimble in moving quietly and softly from stance to stance. And then the end game is closure, ownership, action plans, next steps. The coach doesn't own the action. Everyone repeat it. It's not you. If I wave my hands, you know I'm making an important point. So you don't own the action, right? I mean, you might own scheduling the next coaching session. That's fine. But the actions, the follow-up, you don't change people. People decide to change themselves, right? So you have to give space as a coach for your client to engage the change. It's on them. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have a very active view as coaches in this dance. We are incredibly active in service to our clients, and we can make a huge difference, but the actions are not ours. And then repeat and confirm. Did I hear you right? Ah, is it this? What? Maybe ask a question. Very often I ask questions in the end game. Oh, is it this? What is it not? So I hear you want to do this and this, but what are you not doing? What are you stopping? Oh, okay. I get that. So now we've bounded it, and then we schedule something and we close. Everyone get that arc in the back of their mind, the arc, the coaching arc. It's very useful to think about it that way. At least I've found it that way. Questions. I wanted to land, let me see. We're almost, I'm okay. I'm doing okay in time. There's a book. So if you study professional coaching, if you've read Lisa Atkins' book or you study professional coaching, there's something called powerful questions. One of the problems with powerful questions is there's a lot of them. There's like maybe a billion powerful questions. And sometimes I get confused because there's so many choices as a coach. I'm like, which ones do I pick? And I freeze. What I like about Michael Bungay-Stinier's book is he gives me 7 questions, just 7. And even my brain can remember them. And I found them very useful in my coaching arcs. So what's on your mind is a wonderful opening move question. Everyone with me? What's on your mind? It's a beautiful, beautiful opening move question. And what else? Oh my gosh, how powerful is it? That you can use that in opening moves. You can use that in middle game. You can use that in end game. Oh, you're going to work on this. And what else in the end game? Ooh. That might be cool. What's the real challenge here for you? Anyone familiar with the 5 whys? There's an agile technique called the 5. You ask, sometimes you can have death by 5 whys. So you ask why like a billion times. So there's an alternative. But what's nice about the 5 whys is you're drilling down, you're getting beneath the surface of something. You're helping your client look deeper. So that's what I like. What's the real challenge here for you is a deeper dive. Probably, but mostly used in the middle game. You with me? In those explorations in the middle game. What do you want? Opening move. Beautiful in the middle game. Beautiful in the end game. How can I help? Again, multi-purpose across the arc. How can I help? But how can I help and not take ownership? Everyone understand the nuance, right? How can I help but not take 100% ownership of the action? I hope I'm landing this. If someone's coaching you on weight loss, they can't lose the weight loss for you. They can't lose the weight for you. You have to lose it yourself. Unfortunately, I wish my coach could take weight loss for me. Right? Can you remove 10 pounds from me? The next one is beautiful, number 6. And it's that overload question. Probably not in opening moves, maybe yes in middle game and maybe in end game as well. If you're saying yes to this, oh, how beautiful is this? What are you saying no to? Everyone repeat after me. You can use this to yourself as you're self-aware. Coaching is, if I'm saying yes to this, so when I was saying yes to speak at this session, I had to say no to things. I can't do well, I can try, but I can do too many things. Are you with me? So this is a beautiful question. If you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? And then the beautiful thing with powerful questions is you have to take an action when you ask the question. What is it? Who can I pick on? Ellie, don't come off mute. But Ellie, I asked Ellie, what's the magic of a powerful question? Oh, I heard you. Shut up and listen. Yes, you ask the powerful question, and then you have to shut up and let the question do its magic. Everyone, you need to give it time. And then what was most useful to you is an end game question. And it could be what's most useful to you in this session. How was I most useful to you? You can get feedback to your coaching. So it's not just a session, it's how did I show up? Or what could I have done better for you? How cool was that at the end? Landed on getting feedback and showing the client how you take your feedback. So listening, I alluded to it, the Center for Creative Leadership has a wonderful listening model. And I just want to plant that seed out there. So enough of this. We're not going to do simulations, but what I do want to do is I want all of you to do a quick exercise at your desk. So everyone grab a pencil and a piece of paper. Go ahead, I'll give you a second. It can be virtual. I mean, it can be electronic. So I'm a dinosaur. So I prefer pens and pencils and paper. So grab something to write with, and I want you to just doodle. And I want you to think arcs. So I'm going to turn all of you into a coach, and I'm going to give you 2 coaching scenarios. Everyone with me? And I want you to plan your little arc on paper. How am I going to enter? What stance am I going to use? What is the middle game going to look like? How might I need to show up? Do I need to drop my baggage at the beginning? What do I need to do to prep? How about presence, right? In this, am I triggered by this situation? Do I need to de-trigger myself? How do I want to end it? So I want you to draw an arc on the paper, and I want you to sort of talk about opening moves, middle game, end game. Talk about stances. Talk about mindset. Talk about thoughts about, so you're not just going to go in and coach. One of the meta points I'm trying to make is you don't just run around a building, run around a virtual room and coach. There's a rhyme and a reason to it. There's a planning. Planning helps. There is emergence. It is dynamic, situational, but you don't go in totally cold. That's not a good strategy. So I'm going to give you 2 scenarios. I apologize for folks who might not be Agile. These are Agile scenarios, Agile-centric scenarios, but make sense of them as you can. All right, so the first scenario is this. There is an I in team. You're the Scrum Master of a team who has recently adopted Scrum. One team member, the team lead, is really struggling to work within the dynamics. They're really obnoxious. They're a good person, but they're dominating the team. They've been there so long, and they want to tell the entire team what to do and who's going to work on what, and they're dominating estimates and they're dominating planning and everything. And they know everything, and they're a little, belligerent in meetings because they want people to agree with them all the time and kind of disruptive. So it's not really creating this Agile team. They're blocking it. They may not even be aware of it, but they're blocking it. Another team member pulled you aside. They're almost tears in their eyes because you're the Scrum Master and saying, "Oh my God, I don't know how long I can survive in this hostile environment. It's terrible. It's become intolerable." So what to do? So you're the Scrum Master. What does your arc look like? What are some of the key points? I'm going to give you about 90 seconds to work on that. I want to see everyone. This is not. I want to see everyone writing. I want to see heads down. Now everyone's going to turn their camera off. I can feel it. I want you to think about it. I want you to write some stuff down. What's your strategy? Okay. I'm going to sense the room. I will have another scenario. One more. We're almost done, Taryn. I see you. We're almost done. All right, everyone, continuous improvement. You sure? So you've noticed that so I'm a team member on a Scrum team. I'm just a lowly team member. There are no lonely team members, but I'm a lowly team member. And I've dropped pair programming, and you've noticed that your fellow team members have dropped pair programming and test-driven development practices and full support of the definition of done. They're dropping practices for some reason. The primary reason seems to be that generally a lack of impact, and frankly, they don't see the value. They just don't see the value in them. They're promising to pick them up when there is more time. Is this a great form of inspect and adapt or something else? What to do? What conversations to have? So this would be more peer-to-peer. Everyone with me? This is a team member looking at their team and saying, gosh darn it, we're losing our way. We're losing quality practices. I need to have some conversations with team members, my peers. Maybe I need to have a conversation with my Scrum Master. Everyone with me? There might be 2 coaching conversations here. The one with the Scrum Master and the one with team members. What do those arcs look like? Take a little time. Okay, let me go back here. I want to point something out to everyone. Is a Scrum Master a coach? There's an argument in the community around that. What I'm saying is this scenario, I don't care if the Scrum Master, they don't have Agile Coach in their title. In this case, it doesn't matter. They are having a coaching conversation. Everyone with me? I've turned them into a coach. Guess what this scenario says? Everybody is a coach. Everyone with me? Everyone should be having these critical conversations when they're necessary. But let's plan it. Let's think of ourselves as coaching skills. And that's it, everyone. I want to drop it. I want to end it. I think everyone is a coach. I hope I've given you some insights into what that coaching might look like. And more than that, I hope I've inspired you to assess and grow your coaching skills independent of what you call yourself on your business card. Thank you. Any questions? I'm trying to look in chat. If there's any questions in chat, I didn't notice any. And I don't know if we have time for them. So I'm giving it to Taryn. Taryn is now in control.
Thanks, Bob. That was amazing. Any questions? We've got a couple of minutes. If there are questions, happy to use it for that. Either pop it in the chat or unmute yourself and ask it. Okay, I'm going to assume no questions for now.
I'd like to ask one. Bob, do you see a trend as managers becoming coaches or leaders becoming coaches?
I hope so. In every conversation I have, I try to influence that. That's actually changed that. And I've been in leadership roles, and I've grown leaders in organizations. I think leadership has a responsibility to have coaching skills in general. I think that's part. So if there was a leadership wheel, if I could create a leadership wheel, one of the huge slices of the wheel would be having the ability to have one-on-one crucial coaching conversations and being able to do that in a very deft way. I think a lot of leaders that I run into don't view that as their job. In some cases, it's like some organizations, they hire Agile coaches to actually do that for them. I don't know if any of you have ever seen that, but people look at the Agile coaching as it's sort of their job to do the coaching. I think leaders have that responsibility, and I'm trying to influence that change. And I'm not trying to make their life miserable. I'm trying to improve the power of their leadership and the power of the impact they have on their organizations. But I hope so, and I hope they read the book. I really do. Not for money, to get better as a leader by having better coaching skills.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much. If there are any questions, Bob, I hope you don't mind. Your contact details, website details, etc., are on the meetup itself.
Yep.
I'm sure you don't mind if people want to reach out to you. If there's anything from a Think Agile perspective, please feel free to reach out to us, social media channels, meetup directly on this chat now. It was lovely having you here, Bob. Thanks so much. That was incredible.
My pleasure.
So valuable.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.
And so useful. So we will have the recording. And also, please, before you go, we'll stay on the call for the next 5 minutes. There is a discount code that Kwesi has put onto the chat to get a discount on Bob's book. So please do yourselves a favor and get that.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. And I really appreciate seeing you. All right. Thank you.